Hello, it is Monday, the 6th of March 2023, and this is the War on Error. I'm Graham Hughes. Welcome. Hit that like button, folks, says Reagan Elite, and I can't help but agree. Hello. Hope you can hear me. Hope you can see me. Let me know in the comments if you can. Good to see you. It's been a long week last week. It was a bit mad. I went down to Liverpool. And then, did the show in Liverpool, and then I was in Manchester, and then I was all over the place. This week, again, I'm going to be, tomorrow, I'm going to do an interview with Professor Tom Brooks of Durham University about the small boats that are coming over and destroying our way of life. Somehow. He doesn't think that, obviously. And on Thursday I'll be in Liverpool filming some fun stuff for Labour Social, which is the big project I'm working on. And then on Friday I'll be in Manchester filming some more stuff for Labour Social. A bit of a packed week this, all in all. I've called this episode of the War on Error, I've called it Because You Let Me. And I mentioned this before, but a few months ago, I had a film night in with Ben Chambers of 16 Million Rising, the podcast, the pro EU podcast, which I really recommend. And we watched a movie called Speak No Evil. It's a European film. It's mostly in Dutch and Danish with a bit of English in it as well. And it's a horror film. It's a thriller. It's a horror. One of those really horrible films, when it comes to horror films, I'm never scared of the supernatural, because I know that's bollocks. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in demons. I don't believe in poltergeists. I just don't believe. I don't believe in any gods either, and don't believe in Santa Claus or the Tooth Fairy or the Easter Bunny. Oh, actually, no, I do believe in the Easter Bunny, because that makes so much sense. You know, Bunny comes when Jesus died, got resurrected, and a bunny gives out eggs, even though it's a mammal and they don't lay eggs. That's chickens. You're getting your chickens and your bunnies mixed up. Anyway, the point being, it might have been a fertility festival at one point. I don't believe in any of that stuff. But what freaks me out in terms of horror films is when they're very, very close to reality, when it's something that could actually happen. So psychopaths torturing people and then making their lives a misery, and then possibly, don't want to spoil this for anyone, so cover your ears if you haven't seen the movie and you want to, possibly killing them, possibly, right, you can stop covering your ears now, although I probably made it quite clear while you'll be watching this what I said. Anyway, there is a question asked in this movie from the people who are being tortured, essentially, and the question is, why are you doing this to me? Or why are you doing this to us? And the torturer says, because you let me. The whole film is about how people are afraid to say something when something is off, because they don't want to be seen to be impolite. They don't want to be seen to be saying the wrong thing. They don't want to be seen to be ungrateful for someone else's generosity. And it's one of our traits that we have, that at once is kind of noble, that you don't want to upset people. But at the same time, if we don't speak out, shit like this will happen. So shit like this, which was announced today in the shitty newspapers and on the shitty news feeds, apparently Boris Johnson has put forward over 100 people for knighthoods, or at least gongs, right? And one of them is his own dad. This is Stanley Johnson standing there on the left of the picture, and he is a monster. We know that he beat up Boris Johnson's mum enough that she broke her nose, that's for sure, and she was hospitalised at one point. This was an ongoing, brutal assault that went on over years until she divorced him in 1979. The man is a fucking monster, to put it mildly. Why he is getting a knighthood is beyond me. But then again, Jimmy Savile got a knighthood. So, I kind of think they just give them out as candy to anyone who's nice to the Tory party. At least that's my theory. So, this guy's getting a knighthood. Oh, by the way, Stanley Johnson, nice guy. The wife that he beat up, who was an artist, by the way, he also had her committed. Yeah. Not a lot of people know that, but yeah, he did. because he's a monster and he shouldn't be on television and he certainly shouldn't be getting a knighthood. Why is Boris Johnson doing this? Because you let me. That's his excuse for it. Why did you have these lockdown parties? Because you let me. Why did you lie to everyone about Brexit? Because you let me. Why did you get the country to vote for Brexit in the first place when it was in nobody's interest except for Vladimir Putin? Because you let me. That is going to be his. That's going to be his epitaph on his fucking gravestone. It's going to be written, because you let me. Why do we let this psychotic, sociopathic piece of shit do these horrific things to us and our families and our friends and our country? Why? Because we let them. And we've got to stop. We have got to stop letting these scumbags get away with this. Because what kind of future are we building for our children? In fact, better question, where are the role models for our children? They're not in the Tory party, I'll tell you that for nothing. You want your child to grow up to be a cheating, philandering, lying, psychopathic piece of shit? Then, yeah, great. Get them to watch Tory MPs so they can learn how to do it. But if you want them to grow up into moral, caring, decent human beings, then the Tory party certainly isn't standing out at the moment as a bastion of morality and common sense, is it? On top of this, we've got Raab, 24 complaints, separate complaints against Dominic Raab. I think 8 people have made these complaints. Systematic bullying in his office, in different offices as well, because he fulfilled several roles as Secretary of State, Secretary and Minister of State throughout different administrations. There's been 4 Tory administrations, I think, since Brexit, if you can believe that. Why did he get away with it so long? Why did Harvey Weinstein get away with it so long? Why is Trump existing? Why has Russell Brand not been brought to justice for his crimes that he may have committed, allegedly? It's painful. It really, really is. And I think that we really need to stop putting up with this shit. We need to open the window and say, I'm as mad as hell, I'm not going to take this anymore. In fact, we need to take ourselves down to London and occupy London and just, cause shit. There's enough of us. I'm probably not watching this, but there are 1 million people who protested on 3 separate occasions against the flagship Tory policy of Brexit. 1 million people prepared to travel down to London to protest from all over the country. That's quite remarkable. That's never really happened except protests against the Iraq war. And that was a one-off. 3 times. We had a petition that was signed by 6 million people. I don't think they've had a petition that's been signed by 1 million people after that. 6 million people signed a petition saying, stop Brexit. This is ridiculous. This is getting mad. And now, what are we getting? Excuses every day. It's not the fault of Brexit. The fact there's no lorry drivers is not the fault of Brexit. The fact there's a fruit and veg shortage because, we don't have as many people picking the fruit. That's not because of Brexit. It's not because of Brexit putting in barriers in place of people coming here to pick fruit or putting barriers in place of free trade between our nations. No, it's none of that. None of that. It's the war in Ukraine. Because it's only affecting us. It's not affecting any other country. It's funny that, because there's actually enough vegetables in the supermarkets in Ukraine. Work that one out. Anyway, I've been very rude, very remiss. I've been yabbering on like a yabbering loon for the last 9 minutes, and I haven't said hello to everyone. So I'm going to do that now. So if you want me to read out what you're saying, you write it now. If you want me to read out your super chat, do it now. Anyway, right, to your messages. John Barleycorn, hello. Hello. Number 3 saying good evening all so far. That's from number 3. Graham Haller says evening all. The Lefty Boater says evening folks. Chris Nill says good evening floffs. Good evening all says Reagan Lease. And the Fakapuni is there saying hi there. Everyone's saying hello to each other. Hi everyone. Number 3 is getting a cup of tea, I think. Good evening, everyone, says Mad Monk 33. War, is it time to test the contraptions? Wahaha. Yes, why are we waiting? Says Freckle Puny. You were waiting because I was making myself a cup of tea, right? And then I came down here, sat down in my seat, got ready to hit fade to bring me online, and or bring my image online. And I realised I was wearing the wrong hat. I was wearing my beanie. And I normally wear this hat for this show. And I didn't want you to not recognise me. Yeah, it's always a worry of mine. So I put this hat. I did this. Fun. Anyway, why are we waiting? Hello, Graham. Did you watch the picture I sent you at EU Poster? I saw at the bus stop. I'll have to have a look at that. Did you send me that on? Well, I haven't used Twitter for ages, and I'm really bad at Instagram. So, yeah. Sir, permission to wave down the next flying saucers and request a lift back home to their planet. Pumps, yeah, permission granted. I'm back with coffee. Graham has lost the race. Well, you know, I had to get my hat as well, as just explained. Has anyone seen the tweet from the Brexit supporter complaining about his mate being deported from Spain and sent back to the UK? Brexcuses. Good old-fashioned nepotism. Sure, the country was built on it, says Chris Null. Indeed. Asperger's says, hello. Asperger's Europe, sorry. Cathal says, evening all. And Freckle Puny is there. We'll watch Unforgiven on catch-up to listen here. Oh, thank you. Unforgiven is a great movie. 1993. I think Morgan Freeman and Clint Eastwood star in a movie that was actually directed by Clint Eastwood, and it won the Best Picture Oscar, I think, the year before Forrest Gump. Oh, shit. I'll give my dad a knighthood because you'd all be honoured to have me, indeed. If I had a time machine and a gun, Stanley Johnson would be the people I'd go back in time and take out before he could cause any trouble. Well, you might well say that, and I couldn't possibly comment. This is like watching cricket. Is it? What? Was that before it came on? As the frog said to the scorpion as he stung him in the back, it's in my nature. Yeah, exactly, Freckle Puny. In fact, they are scorpions in the Tory party, and if anyone tries to give them a lift across a river, they will sting them. It is a true story. Ernie says, I am more frightened by the people who do believe without evidence they can justify any bad things and do so to say they believed. Yeah, they're terrifying people. They really are. People who think they are doing the right thing, who aren't. So Boris Johnson, in his head, he is the hero. He is the legend of his own lunchtime. The 9/11 hijackers, they honestly believed they were doing the right thing. Hitler, Adolf fucking Hitler, thought he was doing the right thing. Stalin thought he was doing the right thing. Putin believes he is doing the right thing. The thing that needs to be done. The thing that is absolutely necessary. No one sees themselves as evil. It's why when you see in a Bond film, the Bond villains toasting each other and saying, gentlemen, to evil! That doesn't happen in real life because all those hedge fund managers and insurance brokers and multi-billionaires, these disgusting people who just are grubby little fuckers who just make money and make money and make money and shit on the rest of society as they do so. They all think they are heroes. No one thinks they're the villain. No one sits there thinking, ha 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 ha, I'm so evil, this is fun. Even Jacob Rees-Mogg thinks that he is a hero. That's because he's thick as pig shit. But, he's got a posh voice so people listen to him. Fuck. Anyway, moving on. I cried with the short. What was that? Johnson's running up a crease, ball in hand. Oh, it's a full toss as usual. Oh, I see. See what you've done there. It's the ones who deny the evidence of their own senses that scare me. Indeed, number 3. Still laughing at Hancock's lawyer on GBB's. His intention was to deceive. Indeed. Let's bring down Westminster, bloody Tories, says David. Don Donovan said, if Brexit starred in aliens, who would they be, Burke or the Alien Queen? Well, I think if it was most of the Tories, they'll be Burke. I think if it was Priti Patel or Suella Braverman, they would definitely be the Alien Queen, laying squidgy eggs everywhere. Freckle Puny says, part of the problem, Graham, is that there's too much idol worship. People prepared to put the talentless on ridiculous pedestals, hence the likes of Johnson being lauded as a political demigod. Yeah, and a demagogue. Yes, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. It is this weird obsession with having to put people and ideas on these pedestals and dance around worshipping them like bloody lunatics. And if you say to them, you're behaving a bit like the Jonestown cult, the Westboro Baptist Church, the Scientologists, the Mormons, the Moonies, the fundamentalist Muslims, the fundamentalist Christians. I wish they would spend more time being fun and a little less time being mental. You know, the kind of Buddhists who go around killing the Tamil Tigers, or the kind of Buddhists who go around killing the Rohingya Muslims or the Uyghur Muslims or whatever Muslims they can find. Good, great, peaceful religion, Buddhism. Yeah, peace and love, except when they're killing people. And this idea that I think some people just have to believe in something. And I just wish they could believe in truth and goodness and compassion rather than believing in squishy, stupid human beings who will inevitably let them down, or Bronze Age religions. You know, at the time when humans, for 10,000 years, have asked themselves, where did we come from? What happens after we die? How did it all begin? And the idea that was answered correctly in the freaking Bronze Age by illiterate shepherds, which is quite common in a lot of the major religions around the world, seems to me a little bit unlikely. Is that putting it mildly? It seems very, very unlikely to me. And I know that's probably blasphemous and might be upsetting to some people who are religious, but I just don't have it in me. It's like I said earlier, I don't believe in ghosts. I just can't. I physically can't do it. I don't get it. It's like a joke I do not get. Everyone else is laughing, and I'm sitting there going, I don't get it. And maybe that makes me stupid. Maybe I don't know what's really going on. Maybe I need to wake up, sheeple. But, like, seriously, I don't think I am that clueless. I don't think I don't know what's going on most of the time. Because if I don't know what's going on, I make an effort to find out what's going on. It doesn't take much. But it takes a little bit of critical thinking. And I don't know if I've ever come on here, and I've done over 1,000 of these shows now. I don't know if I've ever come on here and actually just sort of said something that was absolute bullshit. Because, do you know what? You'll tell me in the chat. You'd be like, Graham, that's bollocks. You know what? Occasionally I make a mistake. We all do. I'm fallible. I'm human. But I try not to spread misinformation. And if you say to me, Graham, that's not exactly accurate, I'm happy to correct myself. If I miss your chat, that's not your fault or my fault. There's sometimes quite a lot of them, and I can't get through them all. Talking of getting through them all. So tonight, what I wanted to do is talk a little bit about, there was a great article on the BBC, it was a few days ago, and I probably should have done it last Thursday, but it was when these text messages had come out from the horrific Barbie doll that's been left near Sellafield too long, Isabel Oakeshott, and Matt Hancock, or Hat Mancock, and he gave her all of these messages, even though she's going out with the leader of a rival party to the Tories. Yeah, you know, like, how stupid do you have to be? Would he have given these messages to Jeremy Corbyn's wife? Well, I mean, is he that daffy? And also, Isabel Oakeshott, she's the one who blew up that other MP about blaming his wife driving the car when it wasn't really her, and then they got divorced and it all came out and they went to jail. That was her who blew that up. She lied about Brexit to everybody who would listen. She's basically from 2 steps away from being a Russian paid shill. I don't know if she is, allegedly, but the way she behaves and the things that she gets on a high horse about, they're very much what Putin would like her to get all upset about. So when you think about people who whinge about wearing masks and going to lockdown during a pandemic, you've got to think, whose side are they on? It's not humanity's, because they're trying to get people to die. They want vulnerable people to die. When vulnerable people die, they just shrug their shoulders and go, oh, well. Julia Holter-Brewer literally said, well, if some people die, some people die. It's their own fault for not being strong enough. Survival of the fittest. Hashtag eugenics. My God. Anyway, so it's her and Matt Hancock, and all these messages came out, and the BBC ran an article about like the 10 The 10 maddest things, or is it 8 government WhatsApp COVID message revealed. So we're going to go through this in a moment. I just want to read this from Ernie Burns. I think it's not the Brexit line isn't working as well anymore, but they are still in the denial stages. Yeah. Brexcuses. Let's just talk about hashtag Brexcuses. We need democratic accountability to be a check on power to run a decent society. The accumulation of wealth is attaining power, and it has to be accountable. If you don't like it, you don't need to be rich. Yeah. Well, I guess if you don't like it, you need to be rich. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the fact that we are held accountable for anything that we do as normal, statey, normal people, whereas the absolutely disgusting metropolitan elite. And it's interesting that looking back over videos of the Brexit lot, it was always a privately educated, posh people going on, like Cummings and Farage and Johnson and Oak Shit and Tice and all these motherfuckers who all went to a posh school, and they all go on about the elite like they're not part of the elite. It's really weird. It's really weird. Imagine them like lizard people, you know, like David Icke. David Icke says goodbye Ruby Tuesday. Now, imagine like David Icke. He thinks the royal family are lizards. Okay, let's just imagine that everyone who's posh in this country, who, you know, has that privileged life above and beyond everyone else, imagine they're all lizards, and they go on the TV and they're calling you and me lizards, and we're just putting up with it. It's very strange. It's a strange time to be alive. I'm gonna get back to travelling and not giving a fuck about politics anymore. Want to support Graham? Send a super chat. Oh, thank you very much, Reagan. Part of the problem, too much idol worship. I've said that. I'm infullable, says John Barleycorn. And how does a brain dump compare to a brain fart? I've often wondered about that. I think a brain fart is an idea, whereas a brain dump is when someone dumps a load of shite on you. Like it's a long-winded conspiracy theory that always invariably ends with people of a Semitic origin doing it. Because, yay, racism. You know, if anyone ever accuses me of racism, especially black people, if they ever say to me, Graham, you're a massive racist, my response to them isn't, oh shit, why do you think I'm a racist? What have I done? What have I said? Oh, fuck. No, my response is, actually, I'm a lifelong anti-racist. And they're like, okay, but you're a racist, Graham. And I'd be like, no, you don't understand. I'm a lifelong anti-racist. While everyone else is just like, what the fuck? Seriously? That's your response? Okay. Is Graham okay, I wonder, says number 3. No, not really, mate. I mean, I had to put up with this shit for the last 13 years. The first 2 were great. I wasn't in the country. Speaking of oak shit, you never see Richard Tice and Jim Davidson in the same room. Yeah, indeed. Maybe someone should make those glasses from They Live and hand them out to everyone. Oh, God, that would be so good, wouldn't it? So everyone could see the lizards. Obey, serve, consume. I'm here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum. Okay, so these are some of the real text messages that were sent from Matt Hancock to various people. After congratulating the then Education Secretary Gavin Williamson, how the fuck did that ever happen, on delaying A-level exams for a few weeks, a shorter period than some teachers' unions were calling for, Mr. Hancock had some choice words. On the 1st of October 2020, Mr. Hancock messaged Sir Gavin, cracking announcement today, what a bunch of absolute arsers the teaching unions are. And Sir Gavin, he's a fucking knight. Wow, it was one of the last things that they made the late Queen do, was knight this motherfucker. Jesus Christ, didn't she have enough to get on with? So Gavin replied, and obviously it's Meghan and Harry who are the people insulting the Queen, you know, not the Boris Johnson proroguing Parliament and then fucking around for 8 weeks before he would allow a successor to take over. No, not those. They were very respectful of the Queen. Yeah, indeed. So Gavin replied, I know they really, really do just hate work. This is Gavin Williamson, whose job has been to have conversations with people. and to get other people to write emails. That's it. Conversations. He's made words come out of his mouth, and he believes that's hard work. And as he was a minister, a lot of the stuff would be told for him to do. Like, you need to do this, you have this target, you go and do this by somebody else. So it wasn't like he was really making his own decisions about things. They were being made higher up usually. Or if he was trying to make his own ideas, he probably got overruled by his own civil servants one way or another. If you ever watched Yes Minister, you'll know how that works. Anyway, in response, Mr. Hancock returned 2 laughing out loud and a bullseye emoji. Wow. They really hate work. Teachers. That's teachers. Do you know any teachers? I know teachers. That's the education secretary, the Tory education secretary at the time, saying that teachers really, really do hate work. Wow. Number 3 says, I've gone back to music. Oh, okay. Enjoy your music, Richard. Anyway, moving on. I want to hit my target in capitals. Mr. Hancock texted his old boss, Gideon Osborne, or George Osborne as he calls himself, ex-Chancellor, privately educated, and then Evening Standard editor on the 28th of April 2020 to call in a favour, asking for a favourable front page as he tried to reach his own deadline to reach 100,000 daily COVID tests. That's use of the word reach there twice in a sentence without a comma even between them. That's just not good enough, BBC. Mr. Osborne replied, yes, of course, all you need to do tomorrow is give some exclusive words to the Standard and I'll tell the team to splash it. After replying with a quote, Hancock later writes in capital letters, I want to hit my target. Capital letters. The editor answered bluntly, I gathered. It's like a child stamping their foot on the ground, saying, I want thweets. This was while, because it was in April, right? This is while vulnerable people with COVID were being taken out of hospitals and dumped in care homes with other vulnerable people. And up to 20,000 people died as a result, a direct result of this government policy. Now I have to ask you, if 20,000 people died in a terrorist attack on the United Kingdom, would we even be considering voting the people who did it back into office? I don't think we would somehow. 20,000 people, many of them very elderly. A lot of them fought in World War II. You know, that war that the boomers didn't fight in because they didn't exist. You know, they were born after the war. That war that they love so much and they have so much respect for, and they go on full on poppy rage every November. Yeah, poppy rage. Why are you wearing your poppy? Put your poppy on. Rah, show some respect. These same shits that go on about wearing a poppy, and now that they're allowing the greatest generation of people who actually fought the war to die horribly. I mean, COVID was a horrible, horrible way to die. And yeah, here we are. In another interaction on the 9th of November 2020, Mr. Hancock asked for an explanation about Mr. Osborne calling Boris Johnson to make his testing number 1 priority and insisted, okay, but mass testing is going very well. No one thinks the testing is going well, Matt, Mr. Osborne replied. Indeed. Ernie says, I've forgotten how badly the lockdown exams were handled. They showed their hands for waiting public schools and rich kids. Yeah, absolutely. That's just... I'm sick of having the argument about private schools. I'm way beyond now the idea that they should just pay tax. We need to abolish them. We need to get rid of them. The most powerful argument I have heard was from someone who wasn't even making an argument about private schools, but they had spent a year trying to raise money in the PTA of their school, of the local school that the kid went to, normal state school, and they'd raised 10 grand. And that had taken a year of doing all these events. I'd helped on one of the events doing a quiz. And they said to me, if we had a millionaire or a billionaire on the PTA, it would really help. Or a billionaire on the board of governors would really help. And I was like, oh my God, that's the problem. all the rich people send their kids to separate schools to the rest of us. If the school needed 10 grand to fix a fucking hole in the roof, and there was a billionaire on the board of governors, do you think they'd have a problem? Do you think they'd have a problem getting that money? Especially if it was tax-free and tax deductible even. Hey, fancy that? Wow. That's a pretty strong argument for abolishing private schools, make them illegal like they are in Finland. That has the best education system in the world. Yeah, they're those lazy teachers, said Duke Vengeance, who put up with kids all day and then take home more to do. Yeah, but take more work home to do. Yeah, Duke, you're absolutely right, mate. You're absolutely right. I recommended the short movie El Mundo Entero. Graham, it is a great movie, anti-homophobia, so that will be the entire world. Talking about homophobia. It's subtitles in English on YouTube. Please watch it. Okay, I'll try and check that out if I get a minute. Feckle Puny, as President Obama was told that he had to stop using his BlackBerry phone to type messages as all of his correspondence had to be paper-based, yet we have governor ministers in this country using WhatsApp. Yeah, he could have just deleted all his messages if he had half a fucking brain, but in Matt Hancock's position, if he had half a brain, it'd be fucking dangerous. It's like when those nurses were lazy because they spent 5 minutes out of their incredibly busy day to do a little dance on TikTok. Yeah, I know. To just try and get through it. All. I fucking hate Tories. I just fucking hate them. What a bunch of fucking assholes. Just seriously. They're literally the worst. Pump says, agreed, private schools and religion-based schools should be abolished. Yeah, Pumps, I couldn't agree more. Especially on the religion-based schools. How dare they separate children depending on what invisible wizard in the sky their parents pretend to worship. And I say pretend to worship for 2 reasons. One, I know people, friends and family, who have gone to church for a year to get their kid into the good school. Nice. So they didn't really believe. They're atheists. They just did it to get their kid in I'll do anything for my kid. Get them into the good school. The people who do say, actually think they believe, but they don't. They just like the idea of it. And I've had this conversation with a lot of people who are very, very religious. And I try not to be disrespectful, which is difficult because it probably comes across as a little bit disrespectful. But I get the impression, and I'm not the first person to say this, I think Christopher Hitchens made this point, and Daniel Dennett, and Sam Harris, and Richard Dawkins. But I get the impression that they like the idea of going through the motions, the ritual, seeing your mates at the church each week, having some tea and orange juice afterwards, catching up with your friends in the church, having that sense of community, doing the sacraments, having that familiar routine each week, which is nice, and routines can be comforting for some people. Probably because I'm a little bit ADHD, find routines horrific and really struggle with them. I prefer every day to be completely random. The more random, the better. A good day for me is a day when I wake up in the morning and go, where the fuck am I? But I'm not normal. I know I'm not normal. But yeah, I get that people... But when it comes to the actual reality of it, if they really did believe, they would live their lives very differently. There would be no rich Christians in the world. There'll be no Christians with a big house anywhere in the world. They would have the cheapest, smallest accommodation that they could fit in, and they'll give all the rest of their money to the poor. And they don't, because they don't really believe. There's a line in the Bible, it says, I've mentioned this many times before, it is more difficult for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter heaven. Rich women, quids in, but for rich men, you're fucked, mate. You're going to hell. You're going to burn an eternity in hell. That's it. So who would die rich? Certainly not a pope who owns their own country, bank, economy, gold clothes, 4-poster mahogany bed. Yeah, not rich at all. It's all the church's money. It's not my money. I just led the life of a rich person. But actually, I slept on quite an uncomfortable mattress, so I think I can get away with it, because I'll obviously have a really great lawyer when I go to heaven. Like in the movie, A Matter of Life and Death. Yeah, I think it'll be a bit like that. I'll have a lawyer, and they'll be arguing on my behalf to say, hey, although he did wear clothes made of gold, and he did sleep in a 4-poster mahogany bed, the mattress wasn't as soft as it could have been in a palace, in a fortified palace on the top of a hill in Rome. Not rich. Can he come into heaven now, please? Anyway, that was a hell of a tangent, wasn't it? I don't know how we got there, but we did. Can we not devise an ethics exam that politicians have to take before getting office? It's meant to be a journalism doing, but they also moribund. Yeah, that would be great. Or how about an oath not to swear, not to the Queen or now the King? How about an oath to us, the people, hey? That'd be good. Although Trump did that, I guess, with his fingers crossed behind his back. Well, I recommend a short movie for anyone, but not only you. Okay, cool. I'll check it out. Pump says people pretend to be Christian to get married in the church or have kids christened. It's ridiculous. I refuse to go to christenings if I don't feel the parents are even remotely interested in it. Yeah, it's just mad, isn't it? Like that. I do get it though, because I like to celebrate big occasions. I like celebrating any occasions throughout the year. You know, you start off, it's the new year, yeah, let's get pissed off. Then it's Chinese New Year, yeah, I'm up for that. Burns night, yeah, I'll do Burns night. I do a thing called Darwin Day, when it's February the 12th, when I have to eat something I've never eaten before. That's what I have to do every Darwin Day, a little tradition, and I get the kids to do that as well, and Catherine. And yeah, then I've got Valentine's Day, and then I've got my birthday on February the 28th, which I've turned into a bloody national holiday. Well, civic holiday maybe in Liverpool, and like, you know, throughout the year, if there's a party going on, oh yeah, next one is March the 17th, it's St. Patrick's Day. You know, I'm probably 1/8 Irish or something, well, maybe a quarter, but you know, I'm not that Irish as Irish people go, and yeah, but I'm still got a party. I've got hardly any connection with Scotland other than I've got a Scottish name, but it's spelt the English way. And yeah, I'll have haggis. I like parties. I like any excuse to have a shindig, I reckon. So yeah, I do get that people they've had a baby and they want to have a party and show everyone the baby, and they want to say this is the baby's name. Yeah, I get that, but it's the problem is that it's very difficult if you're a humanist to have these kind of events. You know, in a nice building. The buildings we get shunted off to as humanists are not nice. You know, the churches are fucking gorgeous around Britain. Not the ones built in the 20th century. They're disgusting. Almost universally. Well, let's say the second half of the 20th century. Because the Liverpool Cathedral, the Gothic one, which was finished after Paddy's Wigwam, the Catholic concrete monstrosity, which took 3 years to build. The Anglican one, the sandstone one, it's not really sandstone, it's concrete, it's just covered in sandstone. Little trick there for any architects watching. You might want to make your building out of concrete and then just clad it in a stone so it looks like it's made of stone, rather than cladding it in aluminium or plastic, which goes up like a fucking bonfire, you idiots. And it also looks shit. Anyway, getting off the topic a little bit there, but yeah, it does piss me off that the religious people kind of hog all of those nice buildings, and getting married in anything else than a church, it's not quite as grandiose. Do you know what I mean? I was used to be a choir boy as a kid. I always liked the architecture. The church that I was a choir boy in was designed in Liverpool, in West Derby, Liverpool, was designed by George Gilbert Scott, who was the designer of St. Pancras Station. Well, at least the hotel bit. I don't know if he did the train shed. And it was his grandson, Giles Gilbert Scott, who designed Liverpool Cathedral and Battersea Power Station and the Oxo building and the red telephone box and a bunch of other things, which is really cool. The Gothic modernism, which I thought was really cool. Anyway, you can have a naming ceremony at the O2 if you can afford to rent it, but by wire church. No, I'm just saying they're lovely buildings. They are, objectively, lovely buildings. Someone spent a lot of time carving those motherfuckers. David has put in the link to the shorts. I can't watch it right now because I'm doing a show, but, you know, give it 10 minutes and it should be done. How are the strikers doing? Well, the teachers had another strike last week. There's more train strikes coming up. The strike's all over the place because everyone's just fed up with this government. Train fares have gone up, by the way, 5%. That's nice of them. And they're like, oh yeah, but it's less than inflation. I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah, great. So now it's going to be £155 to London from Durham. In fact, let's do this live on air. I've got to get this through this list. I'm not going to get through this fucking list here. Right, let's go to thetrainline.com. I'm doing this right now. When asked why there's so many different Christian sects, a wise man said it just depends on which group of rich people and which the respective sects of poorer people. Indeed. Get married in a museum. Some of the architecture of those museums is quite nice. St. Pancras is one of my favourite railway stations. St. Pancras is a beautiful railway station, I've got to say. Yeah, but yeah, George Gilbert Scott was probably one of the hardest working architects out there, and loads of parish churches were either neo-Gothic, so Victorian Gothic churches, because there's this big Gothic revivalist movement in the 1800s, and yeah, he was, I guess, at the forefront of it, but he actually restored loads of churches and built churches all around the country. So let's go Durham now to London. Let's go tomorrow. Tomorrow. I'm not going to sing that song because I hate that film. Little kid. Don't like that. Isn't the Bible supposed to proclaim the word of God? Indeed. David Moore. I've read that one. I do like that get married in a museum idea. That's pretty cool. I think if I got married, though, I'd have to... I'd have to call it Graham's Big Fat Hypocrite Party. Oh, my God. Okay, so this is one way. This is one way to London, okay? One way, right? This is not a return. This is not a drill. One way to London. If I wanted to go at... get there for 9 o'clock in the morning. Sorry, my computer's really slow. My internet's really slow. Vodafone sucks. If I wanted to go at 6:12 in the morning and get there for 9:09 in the morning, it would cost me £187. One way. One freaking way. If I wanted to go and get there at 9:30, it would be £128. If I wanted to get there at 10 o'clock, it would be £125. If I wanted to get there for 10:14 in the morning, it would cost me £121.70. This is just insane. That is absolutely barbaric that they are charging such insane amounts of money in order to just travel for literally less than 3 hours down the East Coast main line. A line that was built a very, very long time ago. All the people who built that bloody line have long since shuffled off this mortal coil. And yet, for some reason, this is how much things are. If I do an open return from Durham to London, it was £150 off peak. Let's see how much it is now. Oh, wow. Wow. Oh, my God. Shit! A brick! It's £370. Durham to London King's Cross. Anytime return. I shit you not. I have flown to motherfucking Australia for less money than that. I have flown to Australia. I have literally flown to Australia for less money than a return to London. Oh my God. That is just that I'm a bit freaked out. I can't quite believe that. That's some painful nonsense right there. I'm going to just bring this up on the screen just in case you think I must be making it up, because seriously, how could it be that much? I'm going to change the background. Watch this. Here we go. Choose outbound train. There it is. 6:20, right? Durham to London. There, right? Look at that. 370 freaking pounds. That's that one. That one's 370 as well. That one's 370 as well. Oh, and the 1721 to 1014 is sold out. And that was a change as well. Oh my God. Let's see what the off peak is. I think the off peak should be 155. Yeah, there you go. Oh my God. Open return to off-peak. Off-peak. Off-fucking-peak. Are you kidding? 273... Look at that. Look at that. That's off-peak. It says underneath, off-peak. Set 273 pounds. Oh my God, that one there is almost seems more reasonable in comparison, but it's still 164 pounds. This is like when they try and sell you a dishwasher or a vacuum cleaner, and they go, "Oh, this should go for £3,000, but I'll sell it to you for £999." Oh my God, including VAT. What? That's such a bargain when actually it's worth about fucking £2.50. Jesus Christ, on a bike. Let's have a look at that. That's off peak. That's off peak. So it comes down later in the day to 164. Oh my God, what's 370? 370 pounds. That is some madness right there. Wow, pumps, that's because you have 0 changes. If you go for the 8-day, 14 changes with 50 miles on horseback, it's only £300, indeed. Top Gear did a prog years ago where they bought 3 roadworthy clunkers, filled them with gas, drove them to London to Manchester, and found it was cheaper than going by train on the same day. Yep. Wow. It's very sad to say, to fair, when getting a hooker is more economic than getting a one-way ticket from Durham to London. Indeed. You're not far off when you said people really need to get around the eye of the needle parable. That's the Feckle Puny. You can travel anywhere in Germany for a month for €49, apparently. Yeah, you get a German anywhere card for, I think it's a bit more than $49 a month, but it's not that much to go anywhere in the country. It is mad. The Bible is not just reading, check the interpretation. Jesus is love. People have said yes, but love in the Bible said no, it is love, and that's not open for interpretation. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've got a lot of time for Jesus. Seemed like a nice guy. He said, he said that you should be nice to your neighbours, and the meek are pretty good, and you should be nice to people, and you should try and help people out who are less fortunate than you are. Seemed like a top bloke, Also, he went into a church once and started whipping people, so, there's that, turning over the tables. Lovely hat, Graham. Thank you very much. Breaking news, the Cursed Builders and Engineers Union have gone on strike due to cups of tea. They are allowed being reduced from 8 to 6 a day. I don't really understand that one, Duke. You might have to explain it to me. It's a bit late. Graham, check National Express. It'll be cheap. Yes, it will be cheaper, but they charge you £13 to change your ticket, which is really annoying when sometimes the ticket is like £13. God, the privatisation made trains so efficient they can keep prices down. I could talk about trains all night. Anyway, I can't do that because it's 3 minutes to 10, and I've got to quickly go through all the other Matt Hancock text. So if you want to drop a super chat in tonight, now's the time to do it because I'm going off air quite soon. Number 3, they want to avoid an excuse to having to teach. Oh, again, having to go to the teachers. Sir Gavin... Messaging Sir Gavin sounds like a shit knight out of Monty Python's Holy Grail, doesn't it? Sir Gavin of Twattingwood. Messaging Mr. Hancock on 10th of May 2020, ahead of schools reopening, asked for the Health Secretary's help in getting personal protective equipment, PPE, for schools as a last resort, so they can't use it as a reason not to open. The Education Secretary tested all of them reopen, but some will just want to say they can't, just have an excuse to avoid having to teach. What joys. Again, sticking it to the teachers. This is someone whose job in their life has just been having conversations and making money out of having conversations. Here's another one. Boris Johnson had misgivings about the government's shielding advice in discussions with the chief medical officer, so Professor Chris Whitty. In August 2020, the then Prime Minister suggested that if renewed lockdown restrictions were needed, over 65 would be offered a choice on shielding. Mr. Johnson, addressing Sir Chris in a WhatsApp group on 9th of August, said, if you are over 65, your risk from dying from COVID is probably as big as your risk of falling downstairs. And as we will see in a moment, Boris Johnson is a thicko who has no idea about probability or statistics. He's an idiot. He never reads his brief, he just makes it up as he goes along. And we don't stop older people from using stairs, do we? Ha ha! So Chris conceded he would think twice before shielding unless it threatened the NHS. Chief Scientific Advisor Sir Patrick Vallance replied, "We haven't found shielding easy or very effective first time round. Only a few days previously, shielding has ended for more than 2 million clinically vulnerable people in England, Scotland and Wales. Since March 2020, they have been advised to stay at home to avoid contracting COVID. Shielding later returned." Thank you very much for the super chat, Alexis. And I've got the hiccups, so just bear with me a moment while I drink my tea. Oh my God. Watch you from the start, Graham. Are you still in touch with the other guys from Few Blokes in the Pub? I'm still in touch with Kieran. I'm still a bit in touch with Adam. And a lot of the guests that we had on throughout the years. I mean, I'm actually doing an interview next week I'm doing like a chat with Femi and Mike Galsworthy, who is currently running for the chair of the European movement. I'd love him to get that because he's quite a bit of an activist. He's joined me on many platforms over the years when we were fighting Brexit together, and he's helped organise rallies and protests and helped me out on several occasions. So I'd really love it if he got that. If you are a member of the European movement, you get a vote. Please vote for Mike Galsworthy. That's the end of this party political broadcast on behalf of friends of Mike Galsworthy. I also share a birthday with him. His birthday is also February 28th, so he's my birthday buddy. So yeah, please vote for Mike, my birthday buddy, for chair of the European movement. But no, yeah, I'm still in contact with most people. There are a few that fell off the radar for one reason or another. You know, but I think they're still out there doing stuff. Gavin says obnoxious crap so he can just avoid having to think. Indeed. And number 3 is listening to one people. Okay, moving on. Testing is working for most. Heaven Whiteley, who was her social care minister at the time, travelled 50 miles to a COVID test centre so her relatives could be tested in September 2020, according to the Telegraph. There were restricted numbers of home testing kits and the public had to book a slot at the testing centre where they could swab themselves and be sent to a laboratory. Speaking of the experience, on the 19th of December, she messaged Sir Matt Hancock. Sorry, God, sir. No, he's not going to be a sir. She messaged Mr. Hancock. "So my mystery shopping shows the system is definitely working, at least for some." And Mr. Hancock confusingly replied, "For most," capital letters, despite UK labs struggling to keep up with demand and people being asked to travel hundreds of miles to get tested. Number 6, Williamson needs a haircut. Mr. Hancock clashed with Sir Gavin over whether to close schools ahead of their return in January 2021. In private WhatsApp messages with Special Advisor, he said he had to take rearguard action to ensure schools did not open when then Education Secretary was battling to keep children in school. Remember this? They went back for one day. Do you remember that? That was great. During a meeting on Zoom on the 28th of December 2020 to decide on the fate of the students, Mr. Hancock and his special advisor Emma Dean appeared to send each other messages commenting on the call, according to the Telegraph. Mr. Dean said he's freaking out. This is Sir Gavin. "You can tell he isn't being wholly rational. Mr. Hancock got his way as schools closed days later to avoid amid a national lockdown. It is mad, isn't it?" Number 3, I'm off. See you later. Take care, number 3. Take care, Richard. Replying to Mr. Dean's suggestion that Gavin looked awful and questioning if the Educational Secretary was okay. The Education Secretary was okay. Mr. Hancock said he needs a haircut and a holiday somewhere other than Scarborough. That's a bit classist, isn't it? Because Gavin Williamson isn't privately educated, but Matt Hancock is. Drinks cold in the fridge. During May 2020 drive to hit 100,000 tests per day target, trucks full were brought from Amazon. Trucks full were brought from Amazon. Another bit of bad copy from the BBC website there. If you want to give me a call, I can do this. I could do that. Give us a job. I could do that. I could read that and tell you that's written wrong and you need to rewrite it. I could do that. Give us a job. I'll sound posh if you want me to. Give us one a job. Give us a job. I would like a job, please. Could you give us a job? I would like a job. Hi, I'm Yossi Hughes. I'd like a job. Anyway, she messaged. Oh, there you go. Mr. Hancock was worried that the government would look flaky if it was accused of using them to pad the stats. Oh my God. But there was jubilation when the target was hit, not least from Gina Coladagio, the aide with whom Mr. Hancock was having an affair. She messaged, "Drinks cold in the fridge at Department of Health. Feel free to open them before we are back. Beer emoji." Guidance was followed at all times in number 10. So said the lying sack of shit that is known as Boris Johnson. It's not even his real name. His real name's Alexander Johnson. He even lies about his name. But problems continued. Mr. Johnson admitted in June he was going quietly crackers over capacity, asking what's wrong with us as a country that we can't fix this. In September, Mr. Hancock was advised to avoid an interview with Andrew Neil because he could go hard on testing. Indeed. And here you go. Here's Boris Johnson. Here's the genius that is Boris Johnson, right? One set of messages showed Boris Johnson getting in a muddle over statistics. He flagged a Financial Times article stating that the global case fatality rate had fallen below 0.04. Mr. Johnson wants to know why the British death rate appeared to be much higher at 4%. Okay. Look. It might be a while since you did your GCSE maths, and I understand that. That's fine, right? But you're not the Prime Minister of the fucking country. Someone who has to look at statistics every day and make judgment calls based on the data given to them. If you have a Prime Minister who doesn't understand the difference between a rate of 0.04, which is out of 1, and 4%, which is out of 100... being exactly the freaking same number, statistical number, if he doesn't understand that, he shouldn't be in charge of running a fucking bath. Never mind a country. And this is what annoys me about these mediocre gobshites that are running this place. They're thick. They are thick as pig shit, and they don't care, because all they care about is money. Making money. Making more money. Making more money. That's all they give a shit about. And if you were painfully mediocre, and you're not, you're gorgeous and amazing and very clever, and you're watching this, so good for you. But if you were painfully mediocre, and you didn't go to one of these posh-ass cunt farm schools, you would never get anywhere near sniffing distance of a top job in this country. Nowhere near. Nowhere within 100,000 of the top jobs in this country. If you were mediocre and went to a state school. If you're mediocre and you went to a private school, you can go all the way to the top, baby. All the way to the top. Whoop, whoop. Yes, there are exceptions that prove the rule. Boris the Butcher. Yeah, I remember that, Dave. Absolutely. Hancock is not a synonym of handjob. Ridiculous surname for an MP. Indeed it is. Christian says, has there been any inquiry into how many people died that didn't have to because of them? Well, there's a COVID inquiry that's slowly making its way through inquiries, but it's going to take 7 years, probably. I mean, the Tories will be well out of office probably by the time that the final judgment is come to. And I hope, well, maybe it'll be a good thing that they are out of government, because then they'll have less protection against the law for basically killing people, for killing 20,000 people that we know of, because of the fact that they didn't lock down the care homes. They said they put a protective ring around care homes, and they simply freaking didn't. I mean, there's no two ways about it. They just didn't do that. And then there's the fact that we locked down late, which also costs thousands of lives. And then there was a dicking around with the eat out to help out bullshit. And then there was the fact that we didn't get the tests till too late and all this stuff. And then that's all forgotten because of the vaccination rollout, which was well beating, and we couldn't have done it if we were part of Europe. I hate that. It's a triple jab. That, because it's 3 lies in one. First of all, we developed the vaccine. Well, AstraZeneca developed the vaccine while we were still living under EU rules, because for the whole of 2020 we were living under EU rules, and it wasn't until December 2020 that the first person got the vaccination in their arm. The second big lie, the second absolutely massive clanging lie that these dickheads keep telling, is that we had the fastest rollout in the world, which is true for the first month or so, but after that we trail back. It's a bit like you're watching the Grand National and your horse got to the first jump first. It didn't win the race, came 16th, but it got to the first jump first, and you turning up at Paddy Power HQ, wherever the fuck that is, screaming about how you should be paid money because your horse got to the first jump first. And you're like, well, that doesn't matter. What matters is who won the race, comparatively. And yet they lie about it. And the third lie, the third shitty lie that they tell, is the fact that because we were out of the EU, we got more people vaccinated faster. That's not true. That's completely not true. And I wish that we had journalists who had a bloody little bit of brains in their head, and they weren't all privately educated, conveyor belt, cookie cutter dickheads who were interviewing these conveyor belt, bloody private school, cookie cutter dickheads every day on the television. And I wish they would ask them, hang on. Run me through what happened in April 2021 when you realised that there was a link between the AstraZeneca the AstraZeneca vaccination, which is incredibly safe, but not as safe as some of the other vaccinations, like the Pfizer vaccination, because we found that there was a finding that it caused blood clots in younger people. So we had to start switching to the Pfizer vaccine. If we had been part of the European procurement agreement, we would have had supplies of Pfizer on top of our AstraZeneca. So I don't know if you remember this, but in the summer of 2021, a lot of us who were in our early 40s at the time were waiting absolutely ages to be eligible for the vaccination. The reason why we were waiting ages to be eligible for the vaccination wasn't because there were lots of people who needed to be vaccinated. That was a given. No, it was because they didn't have enough vaccines that summer because they couldn't give certain people the AstraZeneca one because of the risk of clots. So by the September of that year, pretty much every single major economy in Europe had accelerated ahead of us in terms of how many people out of the population have been fully vaccinated against COVID. 3 lies in 1. Triple jab. Didn't Handjob call it eat out to spread the virus in one of the leaked messages? It probably did, yeah. And it probably did. Eat out to spread out, a Rishi special. Indeed. It's not even money they want, it's all vanity and status. I know they've got money, they were born with money. But they just seem to... I mean, it's that line, isn't it, by... Was it Kurt Vonnegut, who went to a party with Joseph Heller, who wrote Catch-22, and the person whose party it was some hedge fund manager who had billions of dollars, and the question was asked, doesn't it bother you that this guy makes more in a week than your Catch-22 made in its entire print run? To which Joseph Heller said, no, I've got the one thing that he hasn't got. He said, what's that? He said, enough. Yeah. Yeah, Graham, all this sounds pretty horrible, but Starmer would be worse. Oh, fucking Starmer. He's not going to be worse. Believe me. Do you know what? The ravenous blood-bladder beast of Troll would be better than what we've got at the moment. Jabba the fucking Hutt would be better than what we've got at the moment. The thuggy cult from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom would be better than what we've got at the moment. The EU got the vaccines cheaper than us as well. Yeah, we paid over the odds for the vaccine, and we paid for loads of PPE that didn't work. And a lot of that money went to cronies of the Tories, like Lady Moan. Lady Moan, what a name. Fucking hell. Anyway, so just to go back to this statistical error, Chief Scientific Officer Sir Patrick, Chief Medical Officer Sir Chris, Aide Dominic Cummings, Cabinet Secretary Simon Case, and Mr. Hancock all chipped in. When Mr. Vallance eventually pointed out that the FT figure is a probability, not a percentage, the PM replied, followed by another message replying simply, ? He offers 5 marks to anyone who can explain the difference and asks them to show working before Mr. Cummings assures him it is a common confusion amongst dickheads. In the same exchange, Mr. Johnson says he knows what I would prefer if he was 80 and given a choice between exposure to COVID-19 and destroying the economy. Boris Johnson's dad is 81. Hashtag just saying. Hashtag Dignitas. Okay, so thank you very much for joining me tonight. Thank you very much to Alexis for my one and only super chat tonight. Fair enough. Times are hard. I get it. I will return on Wednesday for Prime Minister's Questions, or Not Safe for Work Prime Minister's Questions, in which I will be swearing like a motherfucking trooper for a good 45 minutes or so before calming down substantially over a nice hot cup of tea and maybe a couple of biscuits with you, my friendly viewers. I won't probably be able to do a show on Thursday because I'm going to Liverpool and I'm filming something on Thursday evening, so I don't really see a way of doing a live show, but if I can, I will. And then I will return definitely a week today for this show, The War on Error, which is every Monday and every Thursday. And very soon I will be appearing every morning of the weekday at 9:30 in the morning. Put that in your diaries, over on the Labour Social channel, which will be launching very shortly, and you can join me for my morning brew while I spend half an hour just going through what's in the news that day before you all turn over to listen to James O'Brien anyway. So thank you very much. Oh, number 3, number £20 on its way. Your sobbing work. Number 3, I thought you went, I thought you left, I thought you got ages ago, but thank you very much. You're awesome. Have tequila and go nuts like a champ. Thank you. Soylent Green, yes indeed. I got the first jab on the 29th of March 2021 here in Denmark. I'm 40 and not in any special group. I got lucky passing by the vaccine centre at the right time. I always thought a jab at the heart when I saw Johnson. Then they've been in the same room together, says Ernie Burns. Indeed. I know there's no science in government, but I still can't believe that the fourth estate is so dire. Indeed. David is saying that it's so poetic when I swear. Oh, okay, I've never had that before. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I'll be back on Wednesday, and until then, thank you all to all of my patrons, to all of my YouTube members, to everyone subscribing, and please subscribe, because when I'm on, you'll get a little notification on your phone to tell you that I'm actually on live. And until next time, I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.